I've got this chess channel that I run here for you. I hope you enjoyed today's game. I certainly do. This is the sort of chess that I like to bring to this chess channel that I operate here on YouTube, and I'm very thankful for it, and I've sought permission for it as well. This game is played between our Grandmaster-to-be, Murray Chandler, Grandmaster Murray Chandler of New Zealand, and of course World Chess Champion to be Mr. Young Boy, 13-year-old from Baku. I hope I got that right. Or we'll say from the USSR, Mr. Master, greatest chess player of the whole wide world ever, Mr. Young fella, Garry Kasparov. Who else? Who else can I be speaking about? There is some conjecture on who is the best chess player ever. For me, I grew up a little bit older than Garry Kasparov, who happens to have his birthday in a few days from now or after you've seen this video, and I might even make this my main video thumbnail because it's a privilege for me to have got permission to place this game here on this YouTube chess channel. So without further ado, this was played 1976, round 3, France, under-16 champs, and this is world champs, by the way. This is white Chandler versus black Kasparov. So here's e4, and what else is Garry going to play? He has actually played the French defence, believe it or not. He has actually played as black the French defence, but he obviously departed those waters because they were probably a little bit too tight for his play. He wanted to go for more an open slather. And so this is a queenside attack versus a kingside attack. And for me, imagine playing Garry Kasparov, even if I was a little bit older than him and he was 13, or even if I was a little bit younger and he was a little bit younger, I'd still not have a chance. Frankly, that's all there is to it. And I would have got squashed and cooled and smothered and demoralised, at least by his fireworks coming out of his eyes. That's what it's like even for grandmasters. Grandmasters have said, I never, ever, 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 ever want to play Garry Kasparov again because he's so strong. But here's this game. So here's the move that Garry Kasparov is very well known for, is c5. And here we've got the Alapin variation. I hope I got that correct. We've got the Alapin variation, and I've done some outtakes today. Let me tell you, I've had some outtakes today, and I have had some outtakes. I've been doing this for a wee bit now. So here we've got the Alapin variation, and this was used with quite some good success by our Grandmaster to be soon, where he got his first Grandmaster norm, I believe, in 1980 June, for coming first in the New York International Chess Tournament. So that's pretty good, isn't it, to come first? And other times he'd come second to Grandmaster John Nunn and all this sort of stuff. And here we've got this game where he's playing a young schoolboy from Russia. So knight f6, we got e5, d4, but of course, and then we've got knight c6 and knight f3. And is it cd4 now? Would we play cd4 and cd4? And e6 and a3. Okay, so I know that our Grandmaster-to-be, Murray Chandler, was using this opening for white, as well as other moves in the Sicilian for white as well. He was at the top of New Zealand chess, even though we had an international master from Estonia who was one of my friends. I was very privileged to have a friendship with our international master of chess and I will say Orphan Saupu, who happened to play instead of Garry Kasparov, happened to play, I think he might have actually, but who happened to play none other than Bobby Fischer. And that is in Bobby Fischer's games of chess. That is in all his games of chess, the encounter with Orphan Saupu, who ended up living in New Zealand and won the New Zealand Championships here in New Zealand about 30 times, or 27, 28, 30 times. Over 30 times, I think. So here's D6, and here we go with the game. So it's Queen A5. What would you play now? Bishop D2 and Queen B6 and Knight C3. And here's Knight C3, Bishop C3. And DE5 and DE5. I quite like this pawn for white. I always have. Because it just gives white a little bit of more space. A little bit of more space. And it also seems to cut the queen side from the king side. Now, this is a queen side versus king side game assault. And so you will soon see, if you're not aware of what I mean, what that actually is. The thing is with this game is you can try to play this against your opponent. When they castle on one side of the board, castle on the other side. But here we've got Murray is going to castle on the, soon is going to castle on the queen side, the king side, or something like that. So here we've got Bishop E7. Now we've got white's move castling on the king side. So here we've got white is quickly getting their development underway and getting their rooks connected. So they're going, "G'day, mate, how you going?" And I hope that doesn't sound like it's from across the ditch. It's meant to be from New Zealand. Here's Bishop D7, and then we have Knight D2, a wee bit of a surprise. But it's the move that was played back then, and it may be aiming for Knight C4 and Knight D6 and that sort of thing, maybe. And also it releases the queen to be able to move out here to the king side of black. So here is, what was that move again? The move was Queen C7. So now the queen comes out to G4, and we have now the great move from the great Garry Kasparov, castling. So if I haven't said it already, or if I have said it already, please accept my apology. But this game is used with permission, which is a great honour for me anyway, that not Garry Kasparov giving that permission, but Murray Chandler, even though he says I don't need to, I'd rather have it that way. That's just the way I operate. But I am highly privileged and honoured to be able to place this great game of chess, especially from one of the players that played it back then in 1976 France. Here's Rook FC1. So this is an obvious kind of intent to, there's no knight takes E5. Sorry, I've done that again, John, and I'm not doing an outtake. I could, but if my pastor doesn't do an outtake for forgetting to read the scripture before the sermon, then I don't see why I should do an outtake for just a mouse drop. I'll make sure the mouse isn't on the playing field. So here I'll just stick with the main player, but knight takes pawn is no good because bishop takes knight and the queen is lost because the pin of the rook to the king and the queen, and the attack of the queen with the bishop taking the knight on e5. So here's king b8, and still this will probably not do. So does white play, does white now play queen takes pawn on g7, not the pawn on e6, the pawn on g7. Does white now play that? No comes the answer. White now plays queen c4. This is a wee bit tricky, just a wee bit, but I know you can see the point of it. The point of it is the following. If knight e5, okay, can we get the new variation here? Okay, we'll get the new variation. Then we have queen takes, queen check, and there's really nothing else but king takes c7 and bishop e5, and this is looking pretty dreadful for black. It's a double check, so the king can't go backwards or forwards to two places, can only go to c4, and then we have this diabolical checkmate. It's diabolical, but we've got Garry Kasparov at the age of 13, who it would be a privilege to play even at that age, is not going to play that move. So that's just a little bit of the X-ray basic structure of this position at hand. So after queen c4, we have rook c8. So we'll just go rook c8, so that gets rid of, I saw the wee little edit for the chess game. We've got queen rook c8, which now could possibly be attacking the pawn on e5, is it? No, it's not, because here, if black were to play knight e5, we have queen takes queen check first, and then bishop takes knight check, double check if the king takes, and if the rook takes, well, it's going to be pretty bad material loss for black. But as mentioned already, I am reiterating, we've got Garry Kasparov on the black side of these pieces. So after rook c8 comes b4. So that idea of taking on e5 with the knight is not going to happen. And here we have f6. Now, if it was black's move, black could probably take that pawn on e5 now with the knight. So here's f6, knight f3, and it is black's move, sorry, queen b6. We have queen e4. Now, a wee surprise is coming up. A wee surprise is coming up. So, and the wee surprise is, guess what? The world chess champion for the future plays here now. Okay? I might flip the board. Can I remember how to flip the board? Is that flip the board? No, that's not flip the board, Dave. But now Garry plays my move. But it's not really my move, but I like to call it my move. I make a joke that I've got a patent for it, even though I'm not a grandmaster. I make a joke that I've got a patent of this move, where other New Zealand chess players say, well, you can have that move. It's pretty weak. I'll use that word instead of the word that they use. F5, but of course, F5, it's the best move on the planet. It's like the players that are playing here. Both these players are the best players on the planet. Here's queen e1. This is a surprise because I find this a little bit interesting that the queen comes back to e1. And I had a guest here before when I was preparing this game, and he mentioned as well that of this move, he found this quite amazing. Why queen e1? He didn't say queen e1, but he said, why did white go back to where the queen came from almost? So I had to think about what he meant. Here's a6. Rook a b1. So here we've got, it looks like it's going all white's way at this stage. But hold your horses. Okay, we've got rook a b1, and it is looking like that. We've got g5. g5 coming right at you. g5. What do you do now? Guess what? The knight comes back again. Back to d2. Now it's possibly threatening knight c4 to d6 check, and this rook on h8 will be discovered, possibly attack. Plus we have moves like b5 for white, but here knight d2 was played here on move 23. We have knight d4 and we have queen e3. So don't make the bungle I make, knight e2 check or something, because or knight b3 or something, because of queen takes queen. It's all over now. So here's queen e3 and rook c3. Wow. Now this is fantastic. Just look at this play. Rook c3, f4. f4, what a move. Now the queen goes to e1 again. She likes e1, doesn't she? And so the queen drops back to e1, and look at this. Watch black's move now. Watch the young Garry Kasparov's move now. So this is not one-sided anymore. Look at this move. g4. g4. Okay, that's not particularly terrible, but here's knight e4. So this is a pawn storm for black, whereas white is using pieces on the queen side. Here we've got, at the moment, here after knight e4 comes bishop c6. This looks quite alright for black. Knight c5. And now we have king a7. Now here comes a4. This looks quite normal now. It looks like we're looking at Kasparov versus Karpov, because like I said, I think it was either our international master of chess, Ortvan Saup, who as previously mentioned played Karpov, and our other number 1, number 2 board played Garry Kasparov. I think it was in that order, because it was back then. And these two players are really good together of late. I'm talking about Kasparov and Karpov. Bishop f3. Bishop f3? Why don't I just take it? Well, because if we just take this now, okay, how's that going out? New variation. If we just take this now, then black has knight takes f3, check, the royal fork, and next move is knight takes queen. Even I can see that. So it's a5. White just continues on, takes no notice of black's interruption on the king side. Queen d8. It's pretty crazy, isn't it, really? It's pretty crazy that we've got this position here. This is like looking at other games like Yusupov or something like that. Bishop c4. Yusupov, I think it's Yusupov, they say that you just don't know what's going to happen with playing Yusupov, because they have the great great coaches there, don't they? Bishop c5, getting rid of this pestery knight, which might help white. So now what? bc5, bc5, bc5. We have, what will we play now? What do you think we should play now for black? Realising that it's Garry Kasparov over this end of the board, it's, of course, a real feisty move, Queen h4. Now we have a wee surprise, and I'm even checking it again to say, if I mucked this up, oh no, I'll have to do another outtake. It reminds me of Asterix and Obelix, where, oh no, I've dropped my cheese or bread again in the fondue. Oh no, I'll have to be whipped. Here comes gf3. Wow, 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 wow. It's a move that I just about didn't consider. And we've got gf3. Now, it's close to checkmate for black here to checkmate white. So white's going to have to be very quick. King h1. Realising who is black. So here's rook g8 on move 34. Rook g8. Now what would you play? This is an easy move to find. Maybe we can find this move. Because there's no checkmates. There almost are checkmates, but they're not quite there. So now we've got the next move, which I'm sure you can see is the following. Queen e4. Queen e4. Now we threaten queen takes b7 checkmate. So here comes rook g7, which defends, frankly put, queen b7 checkmate. But there's a knight on d4. Okay, this is pretty nice. The knight on d4 is now lifted. But it still is not very, very clear. But it is a wee bit clear, but it's not completely. Because here comes the great move, queen g5. So this looks like white's going to get checkmated in a number of places, but mainly queen g2. So the rook can't leave the back rank because of queen g1 checkmate or queen g2 checkmate. And if rook takes pawn, then queen g2 checkmate. And if bishop f1, then queen g1 checkmate. So white has to be very careful, but they've got a discovery check with the following c6 check with the queen. Now it's very shortly here with after over. Here is c6 check and king b8. Now, can you find Murray Chandler's next move? So what's the sort of move you're going to play here? And you've got to be very, very careful. Because white is still threatened with queen g2 checkmate. It looks quite scary, especially coming from Kasparov's eyes. So if we just play idly a move like rook b7, then we simply have the following move. Not king a8, as queen a7 is checkmate. So not king a8, as queen a7 is checkmate. But we have rook b7. And here, surprisingly enough, black's doing okay. There are two threats of check here. This one, sorry, excuse me. This one, rook b1, check, is threatened and eventually checkmate. And also, again, queen g2, checkmate. So if white now captures here, then we have just queen g2, checkmate. So white has to be very careful after king b8. So if you saw this move now, well done. It's c7 check. And this drives the rook away from g file. And else, if king c7, where is it now? Is it? I don't want to overwrite it. If king c7, then we have queen d6 check, and king c8 what else, and then bishop e6 is checkmate because it's double check. There's no rook c7 as bishop e6 is check, and also rook c8 is check, rook c3, c8 is check. So there's no checkmate for black here, except being checkmated, which I cannot get to, of course. I've already made that very clear in this actual video. So here white has quite an advantage, and I can find some moves here for white like rook f3, but that won't do. Here Murray played rook g1, challenging at last the g file from entry for the queen onto g2 platform, or a rook on the back rank, checkmate. So here's queen h5. So rook g8, rook c8, queen d6, king a7. Can you find the quickest finish for here this game? So can you finish this off for me? Is it rook takes rook or something else? It's a wee bit sad now, really, because we have a rook down, and but it's not entirely lost, but it is. So here we've got the following sequence of moves, which I think finishes this game quite quickly, as this is where I believe Garry resigned on move 41 after king a7. We have queen b6, king b8. What else? Not king a8. Then we have rook c8 check, king c8. Can you see the next two moves? Very easy. Bishop e6, and well, not very easy. They still take a wee bit of daring a little bit, because we have to move a rook right next to the king, which is checkmate. So this has been a great honour for me to be able to place this game that was played way back then between these two great chess players in their teenage years. I hope you enjoyed it. All the best with your chess, no matter where it's at, and primarily enjoy the game of chess with capital letters for ENJOY. I can actually spell it. But thank you for watching this, and it's been a great honour. All the best. Bye for now, and check it out. I'm sorry I had to make that pun, maybe twice or maybe 3 times, or maybe something else. Bye for now.